Hi folks, this is Jay. Hope you're okay today. It's good to see you, and hope everybody's okay. I'm just checking the computer here before I start. Um, yeah, okay. Um, we're looking at marriage and being a pastor, and it says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Before you get married as a pastor, you need to pray about the marriage, whether it's of God. Because when you're called as a pastor, you're called to give up your life for the church, for the flock. You're called there to lay down your life for the church. Ultimately, it's a sacrifice. And so therefore, if you're getting married, the wife needs to know that. This idea that you can get married and the wife can go and do police work, or go and be a nurse, and you go and be a pastor, and you can have two separate careers is nonsense. If you're called as a minister, as a pastor, you're called to give your life away in service. And that means you could be called to lose your life. You could be called to Africa and be martyred. So you're called to give up everything. And if that's the case, then you need to pray about the wife that you marry, and you need to make sure that when you marry, that the wife has the same call as you, the same vision. They have to believe that they're called to mission, that they're called to sacrifice and to give their life. If they aren't called to do that, then it's going to be very difficult for you as a pastor to maintain your ministry with a wife who is not completely 100% behind you in what you're trying to do. They're only going to be a hindrance to you. Even if they try to help, they've not got the same spirit and vision as you. So you need to pray before you enter into a marriage that that person is absolutely clear about where you're going, about your vision of what you feel God has called you to do, and is absolutely clear that they have been called to the same vision. That you both are willing to lay your lifestyle for the gospel. If your wife wants a nice family and wants to live in a nice house and wants a nice career, and she marries you and you're willing to lay down your life for the gospel, then you're going to be both at odds, and you're not both going to get on, and it's going to be difficult. So you need to pray before you get married that you marry the right person who has the same vision. And it's all nonsense if people say, well, the wife can do what they want, the wife can have a career in nursing, or the wife can you know, have their own vision of what they want to do. Well, it doesn't work, because if you're not on the same page, it's not going to work. If you're both not going the same direction, you're not going to survive as a pastor. Secondly, when you are married, you need to look after your wife. You need to treat her as a queen. You need to make sure that she's okay. Don't do ministry at the expense of your marriage. If she's behind you, she's behind you. But that doesn't mean to say that because she's behind you, you can run ahead and neglect her. What it means is you make sure that you look after her. So that means if the church is demanding you to be out more, doing more, but that means you can't spend time with your wife, then you've got to put your foot down and say, no, I'm to love my wife as Christ loved the church, and I'm not going to neglect my wife, and I'm not going to neglect my kids. My kids come first, my wife comes first, and we're going to look after them. They need time with me. I need my day off. I need to spend my time with my wife, and I want to make sure she's got quality time. So you've got to look after your wife, and you've got to look after your kids. You've got to put them first and look after them. But your wife knows that ultimately, if God calls you to go to Iran and you might lose your life, you're willing to lay down. But that doesn't mean to say that your wife doesn't come first. She comes first, the kids come first, and you look after them. So in other words, don't neglect your wife. Buy her flowers regularly, take her out for meals regularly, and treat her with honour and respect by giving her the quality time. Just having a meal with your wife, talking with your wife, spending time with your wife is going to mean a lot to her. If you keep coming in and then rushing out at tea time because you've got a pastoral call, or rushing out because you haven't got time to talk to her, then she's going to feel unloved. You've got to respect and love her to the point where you make her realize that she is the center of your life, that she's everything to you. And in that way she'll be even more desiring to go your way, to your vision. What if she's called to it, great, but she'll be more inclined to follow if you're absolutely devoted to her. So don't get married unless the person has the same vision of you, and don't marry the person unless you're willing to give your life for your spouse, unless you're willing to make your spouse feel the most important thing in your life. You have to be willing to give everything for your wife. So make sure you spend time with your wife. Make sure you take them out for meals. Make sure that you treat them with dignity by spending time with them, not rushing out, not doing your sermons all the time to the point where you're studying all the time and you're not talking to your wife. Make sure that you take time out and say, let's go out for a movie, let's do this together. And the same with the kids. That's my advice. If you marry a wife